My ex-wife dragged me into court thinking she'd score some easy child support cash. I'm guessing she thought it was a slam dunk until the DNA test turned the whole situation on its head. I'm a 32-year-old guy, and I met Vanessa, who's 29 now, back in 2014 at my best friend Ryan's wedding. I was standing next to him as his best man, and Vanessa was one of the bridesmaids. I know, it sounds like something straight out of a rom-com, but just stick with me. At the time, life was actually going pretty well. I was working as an IT consultant for a healthcare company because hospital networks don't exactly take care of themselves. I had just bought my first house and was finally making some real progress on a passion project, restoring a 1967 Mustang with my dad. We'd been working on that thing ever since I finished college. Life felt solid. The wedding took place at a high-end vineyard in Napa, no surprise there, considering Ryan's wife came from some serious money. I first noticed Vanessa during the rehearsal dinner. She had this great smile, made me laugh, and seemed genuinely interested in my job. Back then, I thought she liked what I did. Later, I realized it was probably more about the paycheck than the profession. But hindsight's always 20/20ths. We ended up hooking up after the wedding. Yeah, I know, classic wedding night cliché. But here's the twist, we actually stayed in touch. She lived about an hour away and worked as a social media manager for a startup that promised to be the next big thing for pet owners. Basically, something like Facebook for pets. At the time, I thought it sounded cool, figured she'd landed a solid gig in the tech world. Turns out, it was just 3 guys blowing through family money in a WeWork space. 8 months later, the whole operation imploded, and Vanessa called me sobbing about how she'd given everything to that job. Translation? She posted dog pics online for a living. By then, we were officially a couple. Her lease was ending, and since I had plenty of space, I suggested she move in while she figured things out. Classic rookie move, I know. Looking back, I wish I'd done a little more homework on her background before inviting her into my life. Vanessa came from a pretty well-off family. Her dad footed the bill for everything: private school, college, her car, even her credit cards. But when she hit 25, he finally cut her off. After that, she jumped from one startup to the next, mixed in a few influencer gigs here and there. She never stuck around long enough to build an actual career, but I'll give her this, she knew how to talk the talk. Once she moved in, she started pitching all these grand ideas about launching her own social media consulting brand. She spent hours crafting PowerPoint decks for her strategy and kept name-dropping supposed big-time clients she was networking with. And yeah, I actually believed her. Meanwhile, I watched my credit card balances steadily climb. The first real red flag of many was when she asked to borrow my card for some business essentials. Those essentials ended up being a $1,850 MacBook Pro, because apparently, regular laptops aren't fit for entrepreneurs, a $650 lighting setup, and over $1,200 worth of stylish outfits for meetings that never actually happened. When I brought it up, she turned it around on me, said I wasn't supporting her dreams and that investing in yourself is the best kind of investment. The worst part? I actually bought it. I was earning about $110,000 a year, had some savings tucked away, and honestly thought I was helping the woman I loved build something real. To be fair, when she wasn't draining my bank account, Vanessa could be a lot of fun. We'd take spontaneous road trips, she'd leave sweet notes around the house, and even acted interested in my car projects. I later found out that was another lie, she was just pretending. We got married in 2016, 2 years after we met. It wasn't a massive wedding, but it definitely wasn't cheap. Vanessa insisted on having it at the same Napa vineyard where we first met. It was part of our story, as she put it. Her parents, despite all their talk about helping out, didn't contribute a single dollar. Most of the expenses came out of my savings, and yeah, it left a dent. But at the time, I convinced myself it was worth it. The ceremony was beautiful, everyone had a great time, and Vanessa seemed genuinely happy. I'll never forget when my dad pulled me aside during the reception. He's an old-school guy, worked at Ford for 30 years and rebuilds cars in his spare time. He looked me straight in the eye and asked, "Did you get a prenup?" I nodded. Shout out to my buddy Tyler, the lawyer, who practically forced me to get one. My dad looked a little relieved but still wasn't totally at ease. He said something I really should have paid more attention to. If someone truly loves you, they won't need your credit card to prove it. But you know how it is when you're in love. You tell yourself your relationship is the exception. That the red flags are just quirks, not deal breakers. Man, was I wrong. Once the wedding was over, She didn't even bother pretending to care about money anymore. It was like putting that ring on her finger gave her full license to spend whatever, whenever. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up and walk you through how things really started to fall apart. Just 4 months into our marriage, I got promoted. My salary jumped to $135,000 as a senior consultant, and I figured we'd finally have some financial breathing room. Instead, Vanessa took it as her big opportunity. She quit her part-time marketing job, one of the only actual jobs she'd held in years, without even telling me. She just walked in one afternoon and said, "Honey, I'm finally free to chase my dream." Apparently, chasing her dreams meant turning our home office into her personal filming studio. She dropped $4,700 of our savings on camera gear, lighting rigs, and get this, a ridiculous pink velvet couch she insisted matched her Instagram vibe. When I reminded her that we'd agreed to use that money for replacing the roof, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "Babe, this is how we build our future." Then she hit me with, "Don't you want me working in a space that sparks creativity?" And that was just the beginning of the madness. Before I knew it, she launched a YouTube channel focused on luxury living on a budget. The irony wasn't lost on me. And then came the credit card charges, mine, not hers. She started buying designer clothes and accessories to feature in her videos, and then returning most of them after filming. But not everything went back. I found a pair of $900 Louboutins stashed in the back of her closet. When I asked her about them, she brushed it off like it was nothing, called them props that were essential for her brand. Meanwhile, the Mustang I'd been restoring with my dad for 5 years? Suddenly, it was a problem. She started complaining that it took up too much space in the garage. We were about 70% through the rebuild, and I was this close to getting it to run. That car wasn't just a project, it was a time capsule of father-son memories. But Vanessa decided the garage would be better used as her yoga and wellness sanctuary. According to her, the spare bedroom didn't offer the right energy for yoga content. Then one day, I came home and saw my Mustang listed on Facebook Marketplace. No joke. She hadn't sold it yet, but strangers had already stopped by to check it out. When I confronted her, she said, "Babe, we need more space," followed by, "You're always working on that car anyway. Don't you care about supporting my wellness journey?" That was our first major blowout. I lost it. I'd never raised my voice at her before, but learning she tried to sell my car behind my back, that pushed me over the edge. She cried, accused me of being controlling, then pulled the classic guilt trip. "If you really loved me, you'd want me to succeed." The next day, she apologized, swore she'd never do anything like that again. And like an idiot, I believed her. But she didn't stop, she just changed tactics. She started leaving the garage door open during rainstorms. She stacked her production gear right next to the car, close enough to accidentally bump into it. When she scraped the fresh paint job with one of her yoga blocks, I gave up. I sold the damn car. My dad didn't say a word when I told him, but the look he gave me said enough. That car was more than metal. It was 5 years of weekends, grease-stained clothes, and memories we couldn't replace. And I let her take that from me. As for the money from the sale, she spent it on some so-called business retreat in Bali. In reality, it was just a luxury vacation with a bunch of influencer wannabes. She posted nonstop on Instagram, yoga poses at sunrise, smoothie bowls, group selfies. When she came back, she announced that she had a new vision. She was going to become a wellness coach. She ordered meditation cushions and essential oils, built a website that I paid for, of course, and printed business cards that read, "Vanessa Carter, holistic wellness expert and lifestyle curator." Want to guess how many clients she landed? Not one. Still, she managed to rack up $13,000 on my credit cards buying inventory for a skincare line she never launched. Boxes of lotions and serums just sat in the garage right where my Mustang used to be until they expired. When I confronted her, she actually blamed me. Said it was my fault for not promoting her products to the wives of the guys I worked with. By then, I was clocking 60-hour work weeks just trying to patch up the financial crater. I dragged myself home exhausted, only to find the place a wreck and $250 plus worth of Uber Eats scattered across the table because she was too overwhelmed to cook. Cleaning? Forget it. She was too busy creating content. And after a full year of her being a full-time influencer, her YouTube subscriber count, 342. Not 1,000. Just 342. Looking back, I think she spent more time curating our life for Instagram than actually living it. But I wasn't allowed to follow her accounts. She claimed it would mess with her engagement metrics. I mean, how many red flags does it take? The final straw? I found out she'd taken out a loan against my 401k. She somehow guessed my login based on my Mustang's model year and nickname. Yeah, I know, dumb, and drained $28,500. All to pay for a mentorship program run by some Instagram guru who promised to help her hit 100,000 followers. After that, I couldn't even sleep in the same room with her. I started crashing on the couch in my office, pretending I was testing out a new remote work setup. I forwarded my office line to my cell and just tried to act like everything was normal. But the truth? I was ashamed. I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone. All I could hear was my dad's voice in my head, telling me, if someone really loves you, they won't need your credit card to prove it. Remember my friend Tyler, the lawyer? He'd been warning me for years. When I finally called him at 2 a.m. from that office couch, he didn't sound even a little surprised. He just said, "Send me your calendar link. We'll talk in the morning." Tyler's the kind of friend who doesn't say, "I told you so." He rolls up his sleeves and helps you sort through the wreckage. The next day, I checked the mail and felt my stomach drop. Vanessa had somehow opened 3 new credit cards under my name and maxed them out. The total damage? $45,000. Her explanation? I was stressed about our relationship, and retail therapy calms me down. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. When Tyler reviewed the credit card statements, he let out a short laugh. Not because it was funny, but because she just handed us a slam-dunk divorce case. That prenup I mentioned? It had a clause that specifically covered financial abuse and misconduct. Tyler's obsession with airtight legal language ended up saving me. Thank God for him. When I finally sat my parents down and told them everything, my mom broke down in tears. My dad just sat quietly at his workbench, wiping down engine parts like it was some kind of therapy. After a long silence, he looked up and said something that cut straight through me. "Son, she's not going to stop, not until she crashes and burns or finds someone new to latch onto. Right now, you're just the easier option." That flipped a switch inside me. Filing for divorce turned out to be surprisingly straightforward. What wasn't easy was walking through our front door and telling Vanessa. I had practiced exactly what I wanted to say. Had a whole speech ready. But when I got home, she was in the middle of filming a day in the life of a boss babe video in our kitchen. She'd spent $300 on my credit card, of course, on fancy organic groceries just to use as props. The fridge itself was basically empty. I waited until she finished filming and then said it as clearly and calmly as I could. "Vanessa, I'm filing for divorce." Her reaction? She picked up her phone, turned the camera back on, and said, "Hey guys, I've got something really personal to share today." I didn't stick around to become a segment in her My Truth vlog series. I walked out. The weeks that followed were a full-blown circus. She tried every tactic in the book to stop the divorce. First came the love bombing, long, emotional texts about our perfect life, throwback photos from our road trips, even pulling my old Mustang parts out of storage as some kind of peace offering. She said we could fix up a new car together, like old times. Yeah, hard pass. When that didn't work, she pivoted. The threats came next. "I'll tell people you were abusive." Total lie. "I'll ruin your reputation at work." Didn't land. My boss already knew what she was like. "No woman will ever date you again once I'm done." Also didn't land. Then came the piece de resistance. She rebranded herself online as a survivor of financial abuse. No joke. According to her posts, I was some controlling villain who didn't let her work or chase her dreams. Meanwhile, I had the receipts, literally. Spreadsheets, statements, emails, over $180,000 poured into her endless business ventures. This is where Tyler, my lawyer, truly shined. Vanessa had hired some TikTok legal coach who claimed she was entitled to alimony because she sacrificed her career for our marriage. Tyler simply pulled up her Instagram, post after post of her bragging about being a self-made girl boss. Kinda hard to argue you gave up your career when you've been advertising yourself as a full-time entrepreneur online for years. The divorce wrapped up in July 2019. Thanks to the prenup and her own financial disasters, she walked away with way less than she expected. She got to keep her camera gear, that ridiculous pink couch, and a small settlement. Just enough to get her to stop dragging things out. The last time I saw her was in court. She looked at me with fake tears in her eyes and said, "I hope you realize you're giving up the best thing that ever happened to you." I didn't even flinch. I just looked her in the eye and said, "Nah, the best thing that ever happened to me was Tyler telling me to get that prenup." Her face? Worth every penny I paid that man. The next year was all about putting myself back together. I got promoted to senior management. Turns out grinding 60-hour weeks has its perks. I hit the gym again. Funny how much time you have when you're not funding someone else's influencer fantasy. I even bought a new project car, a '70 Chevelle. Needed a lot of work, but that's what weekends with my dad were for. It finally felt like I could breathe again. I was dating casually, my credit score was recovering, and Vanessa? She was fading into the rearview mirror. Almost. Then November 2021 rolled around, and everything seemed totally normal at first. The Chevelle was nearly finished, work was great, and I'd started seeing someone new. Things were looking up. Then, one evening, I got home and pulled a certified letter out of the mailbox. The return address was the county courthouse. I got that gut punch feeling immediately. I opened it in the driveway, and I swear, my brain couldn't process what I was reading at first. It was a legal petition for child support and a custody agreement. According to the document, I had a 2-year-old son. His name? Noah Carter. The paperwork claimed I'd abandoned my duties as a father and needed to start paying child support immediately. Here's the part that really blew my mind. The kid's birth date was listed as February 2020. If you're doing the math, that's 8 months after our divorce was finalized. Vanessa claimed we'd had some kind of final fling right after signing the papers and that she got pregnant from it. Absolutely never happened. Not even once. I sat in my car for a full hour, just reading the papers over and over, trying to find a mistake. But there it was, in black and white, a birth certificate with my name listed as the father. I had no idea she could even do that without my consent. Turns out, in some states, if you were recently married and the timeline adds up, the courts can assume paternity. The deeper I read, the more it felt like I was living inside a twisted reality show. The petition was full of melodramatic claims, how she'd supposedly tried to contact me throughout her pregnancy, but I ghosted her. Which, of course, was a lie. I'd blocked her everywhere. For good reason. Sure, maybe I'd blocked her on everything, but that didn't matter, because there was no baby. Didn't stop her from filing for $2,800 a month in child support, plus back payments for the previous year, and asking that I cover the kid's health insurance too. I called Tyler immediately. It was already past 9 p.m., but this was DEFCON level urgent. He picked up on the first ring. That's just the kind of guy he is, the kind of friend you hope you never need, but are damn lucky to have. After I explained everything, he paused for a second and said calmly, "Do nothing. Don't call her. Don't talk about it online. Don't even think about reacting. Just be at my office first thing in the morning." That night was brutal. I barely slept. Just lay there staring at the ceiling, trying to wrap my head around the idea that Vanessa might have invented an entire child to keep me in her web. I always knew she could be manipulative, but this was another level entirely. By 3 a.m., I was in a Google rabbit hole, searching things like how to prove you're not the father. The next morning, Tyler dropped a bomb. In our state, if you don't legally contest paternity within 30 days of being served, the court can declare you the legal father by default. No DNA test required. Vanessa had timed everything perfectly. She'd waited until just after the holidays, when the courts were slow and backlogged, probably hoping I'd miss the deadline in the chaos. But things started to unravel fast. We started digging into the timeline, and it didn't add up. The birth certificate said the kid was born in February 2020. Our divorce? Finalized in July 2019. If we had a final fling, like she claimed, the baby would have been due in March 2020 at the earliest. Tyler checked her Instagram using a burner account we'd set up just to monitor her public posts. In January 2020, she was at a music festival partying, dancing, clearly not pregnant. No bump. No signs. So unless she had the shortest pregnancy in medical history, she was lying. Again, we filed a formal response with the court immediately, demanding a DNA test and challenging the birth certificate. But we didn't stop there. Tyler brought in a private investigator. After everything I'd already spent on the divorce, throwing a few thousand more at the truth didn't faze me. I needed answers. And man, did the PI deliver. Turns out, Vanessa had been living with a guy named Daniel for most of 2021. He'd been paying her $1,300 a month in under-the-table child support. Then he stopped in August. Guess when she filed the child support claim against me? Yep, October. The PI also dug up her TikTok account, because of course she had one. It was full of tearful videos about being a single mom, abandoned by the baby's father. The comments section? A flood of sympathy and outrage, everyone believing her version. And the so-called deadbeat dad? That was supposed to be me. But the real breakthrough came in one of her videos from June 2021. In the background, on the kitchen counter, was a letter addressed to Daniel Brooks, the same Daniel who'd been quietly paying her. Our investigator tracked him down. Tyler and I met him at a quiet coffee shop outside town. We didn't know what to expect. Was he in on it, or just another casualty? Turned out, he was just like me, a victim. Daniel was a software developer. He'd met Vanessa in early 2019 at a co-working space, right after my divorce was finalized. She introduced herself as a digital marketing consultant launching her own agency. Sound familiar? Same pitch. New target. She seemed so sincere, Daniel told us, stirring his coffee like he was still trying to make sense of it all. She told him she escaped a toxic marriage where her ex never let her work. I nearly choked on my drink. She had completely flipped the script, cast herself as the victim, when in reality, she'd been draining me dry for years. Daniel and Vanessa officially started dating around March 2019. By May, she'd moved into his upscale loft. And in June, she told him she was pregnant. Daniel was thrilled. He was 35, had a solid career, and wanted a family. He thought he'd found someone to build a future with. Vanessa leaned all the way into the role of glowing mom-to-be. She went to prenatal yoga, posted curated baby bump pics, and had Daniel drive her to every doctor's appointment. Oddly, she never let him come inside, said COVID restrictions didn't allow it. And here's where it goes from crazy to insane. She wasn't pregnant. Not even close. She bought a silicone pregnancy belly online. RPI even pulled the Amazon receipt. She used it for staged Instagram photos, completely faking the whole thing. She scheduled her appointments for days when the OB office was closed. Daniel never caught on. I mean, who fakes an entire pregnancy? Then in February 2020, she told him she was flying out to visit her sister for a women-only baby shower. A week later, she came back with a newborn. She said she'd gone into early labor while visiting and delivered at her sister's place. Daniel was devastated he missed the birth, but too overjoyed to question it. From there, he went all in. He paid rent, stocked the apartment with baby supplies, even opened a college fund. He genuinely thought he was building a family. Meanwhile, Vanessa used his money for spa days, shopping sprees, and postpartum healing retreats. Same pattern. Same manipulation. Just a different guy wearing the blindfold this time. Vanessa had Daniel completely convinced he was Noah's dad. Anytime he brought up the birth certificate, she brushed it off like it was no big deal. It's just paperwork, she'd say. We both know you're his father, that's what matters. But then, little cracks started forming. Daniel started noticing the kid didn't really resemble either of them, not him, not her. When he brought it up, Vanessa got defensive fast. She guilt-tripped him hard, saying things like, "How dare you? Do you even love Noah?" Classic gaslighting move. Eventually, Daniel's mom, a nurse, and apparently sharp as a tack, started poking holes in Vanessa's timeline. None of it made sense to her. By August 2021, Daniel couldn't ignore the red flags anymore and demanded a paternity test. Vanessa lost it. She went into full meltdown, accused him of destroying their family, said he'd broken her trust, played the betrayal card hard. But Daniel didn't back down. He ordered a home DNA test kit, and that's when Vanessa pulled the ultimate vanishing act. While Daniel was away at a work conference, she packed up Noah and most of her stuff and ghosted. Left him a handwritten note saying his lack of faith had shattered the family bond. Total Vanessa move. Daniel tried reaching out, but she'd already blocked him everywhere, calls, messages, socials, all gone. So he stopped paying the under-the-table support and started looking for a lawyer. That's when she circled back around to me, her backup plan. But the thing that saved me? Daniel had receipts. Literal and digital. He'd started documenting everything once her excuses about the birth certificate started sounding off. He had text messages of her admitting to faking doctor visits. He even had footage from his building's security camera showing her taking off a fake pregnancy belly. Yeah, you heard that right. And on top of that, he had records of every payment he'd made to her, proof that he'd been financially supporting the baby she claimed was his. Meanwhile, RPI uncovered more dirt. Remember the whole, went into early labor at her sister's house story? Total fiction. Her sister had been living in Australia since 2020. No baby shower. No sister's house. No labor. It was all one big lie. Even the baby registry was a scam. She created it under the name Vanessa and Daniel Brooks, despite never marrying the guy. The registry was packed with high-end baby gear, most of which Daniel had paid for. Same con, Just a more elaborate version of the one she tried to run on me. But the real mic drop came when the PI pulled hospital records. We checked every hospital in the state, and there was no record of Vanessa giving birth anywhere. Not one. That's when Tyler got that look lawyers get when they know they're about to bury someone in court. "We're subpoenaing the actual birth records," he said. "And if I'm right, she's in serious legal trouble." We filed the subpoena right away, but of course, courts don't move quickly. While we waited, our court date for the DNA test crept closer. Vanessa's TikTok-famous lawyer kept filing for extensions. His latest excuse? Vanessa was emotionally unfit for a hearing due to stress. Please. Then, the day before the hearing, Vanessa went full soap opera. She uploaded a teary Instagram video claiming her abusive ex was trying to deny their child. She asked her followers to send prayers and support. The comments were a mess, people offering money, praise, sympathy, all for a story built on lies. The morning of the hearing, I was running on nerves and coffee. Even with all the evidence, I couldn't shake the fear she'd find a way to twist everything. She was a master manipulator. I'd seen it firsthand. Tyler met me outside the courthouse carrying a huge folder, thick with documents. He kept patting it like it was a lucky charm. "Just let her talk," he told me. "The more she talks, the more she'll unravel." Daniel showed up too, looked like he hadn't slept in days. And I couldn't blame him. The guy had spent a whole year playing dad to a kid that might not even be his. Then Vanessa arrived. She looked like she'd dressed straight out of some struggling single mom costume kit. No makeup, messy bun, oversized sweatshirt, and what looked like scrubs. She's never worked in healthcare a day in her life. She brought Noah with her too. First time I'd seen the kid in person. Cute little guy. But it was painfully obvious he didn't look like her. And definitely not like me. Her TikTok lawyer looked panicked. He kept glancing at his phone, whispering to Vanessa, clearly scrambling. Later we found out he'd just discovered some of the evidence Tyler was about to drop and was trying to convince her to settle. But Vanessa, being Vanessa, thought she could out-talk anyone. The judge walked in, a gray-haired, no-nonsense type who looked like he'd seen every trick in the book twice. When Vanessa's lawyer tried to delay the test again, this time claiming religious objections, the judge just stared at him until he sat down. Then Tyler stood up, cleared his throat, and dropped the first bomb. "Your Honor," Tyler began, standing tall like he'd been waiting his whole career for this moment. "Before we even get to the DNA test, I need to present evidence that the birth certificate submitted to this court was obtained under false pretenses." The judge raised an eyebrow, which, in courtroom language, means, "You'd better be damn sure about this." Tyler opened the folder and laid it all out. First, the subpoenaed hospital records, or more accurately, the total absence of them. There was absolutely no record of Vanessa giving birth anywhere in the state. But that wasn't the headline. The real shocker came from what our private investigator uncovered after digging deeper into Noah's origins. Turns out, Vanessa had pulled a stunt straight out of an identity theft playbook. She'd taken advantage of a paperwork loophole at a small county clerk's office, submitting forged documents to make it appear she'd had a home birth with a midwife. Only problem? The midwife whose name she used had retired 3 years earlier. And the address listed for the supposed home birth? It was just an empty lot. That's when Tyler dropped the bombshell that left the courtroom dead silent. We had proof, actual messages, showing that around the time Noah was supposedly born, Vanessa had been contacting pregnant women on social media about private adoption. A few of those women had come forward after seeing her online, pretending to be a struggling single mom. As Tyler laid it all out, Vanessa's face looked like it was glitching. She cycled through every possible expression: shock, confusion, faux sadness, indignation. But when Tyler presented screenshots from Chris's building security cameras, clips showing her wearing and removing a fake pregnancy belly, she finally snapped. She tried to interrupt, claiming the footage was taken out of context. The judge wasn't having it. "Ms. Carter," he said sternly, "unless you're about to tell me how security footage can misrepresent a silicone belly, I suggest you allow your attorney to speak." Her lawyer? He looked like he wanted to crawl under the table, probably realizing he'd walked into a legal wildfire without a hose. Then came the next punch. Tyler showed documents proving Vanessa had simultaneously claimed both Daniel and me as Noah's father. The TikTok attorney actually started packing up his briefcase right then and there. And then came the moment that cracked Vanessa's entire act wide open. The judge looked straight at her and asked, "Ms. Carter, can you provide any medical documentation showing you were ever pregnant with this child?" She launched into her usual performance, trembling voice, fake tears, hands clutched like she was the victim. Your Honor, I had a traumatic birth experience. I didn't keep any records because. The judge cut her off cold. That's not what I asked. I'm asking, do you have any medical documentation, any at all, proving you gave birth to this child? And for the first time in all the time I'd known her, Vanessa had no words. She just stared around the room like she was searching for a trapdoor to disappear through. Then she broke. This is insane, she shouted, the soft-spoken mom persona dropping like a mask. What came out was the voice I remembered from our worst fights, entitled, Angry Loud. I don't need to prove anything. It was a legal home birth. Tyler looked like a kid on Christmas morning. Your Honor, he said, barely containing his grin. We have one final piece of evidence. He handed the judge a manila envelope containing police reports from a small town about 3 hours away. In November 2021, the exact time Vanessa claimed she gave birth, there had been several complaints about a woman matching her description, seen lurking around a hospital maternity ward, pretending to be a lactation consultant. She'd been trying to access new mothers and their babies. As the judge flipped through the reports, his expression grew darker with each page. Then he looked up and said something I'll never forget. Ms. Carter, are you aware that trafficking in minors is a federal offense? You could have heard a pin drop in that room. That's when Vanessa's lawyer stood up, face pale, and said, Your Honor, I am formally withdrawing as counsel. I can no longer represent Ms. Carter in this matter. And just like that, he packed his things and walked out. I've never seen anything like it. Vanessa started spiraling. This is all just a misunderstanding, she screamed. But Tyler wasn't done yet. He called the final witness, a young woman named Emily. Emily had given birth to a baby boy in that same hospital in November 2021. She'd been going through severe postpartum depression. During her stay, she was befriended by someone claiming to be a social worker, Vanessa. Vanessa convinced her to sign over temporary guardianship while she got help. Emily had reported her son missing over a year ago, but Vanessa had used fake documents and a false name to disappear with the baby. Emily never stopped searching. And one day, while scrolling TikTok, she saw a single mom video that made her freeze. It was Vanessa with Noah. She contacted our PI the same day. The judge immediately ordered expedited DNA testing, not only to prove I wasn't the father, but to confirm whether Noah was, in fact, Emily's son. That's when Vanessa lost it completely. She grabbed Noah and tried to bolt out of the courtroom. She actually screamed, You don't understand? I just wanted to give him a better life. But the bailiff shut that down fast. A week later, the DNA results were back. Noah was Emily's son. Vanessa had essentially stolen a newborn from a vulnerable woman in crisis, and then used that child to try and extract money from multiple men with fabricated claims of paternity. The judge didn't hold back. Once the results were in, the legal hammer came down, hard. Vanessa was hit with a stack of charges: felony fraud, identity theft, custodial interference, and more. Each one worse than the last. Both Daniel and I were granted permanent restraining orders against Vanessa. The court also ordered her to repay every single dollar she'd taken from Daniel under the guise of child support. She's now facing a serious prison sentence, anywhere between 15 to 20 years, and as of now, she's still waiting to be sentenced. The judge didn't stop there, either. He passed the case along to the FBI for possible federal charges, especially after seeing how calculated the whole thing was. As for Emily, she was finally reunited with Noah, and it was clear right away that she was an incredible mom. She'd gone through treatment for her postpartum depression and had been searching relentlessly for her baby since the day he was taken. She even reached out to me and Daniel afterward to thank us for helping bring Vanessa's web of lies crashing down. These days, she's working with a nonprofit that supports new mothers battling postpartum mental health issues. She's also become an advocate for stronger hospital security procedures to prevent cases like hers from ever happening again. Daniel and I ended up becoming friends through all this. Funny how going through the same hell will do that. We still meet up now, and then, usually to tinker with the Chevelle or just laugh, or groan, about how we both fell for Vanessa's act. He's in a much better place now, dating someone new. She's a school teacher with a good head on her shoulders, and, more importantly, a real job and no red flags. As for me, I finally finished restoring the Chevelle with my dad. It took time, patience, and a lot of weekends covered in grease, but man, It was worth it. My girlfriend, the one I mentioned earlier, loves cruising in it. And when I ramble about carburetors or paint jobs, she doesn't just nod along. She's actually interested. She's the one who helped me organize all the court documents and evidence. Said the whole ordeal gave her plenty of material for her law school application essay. If nothing else, we made the best out of a bad situation. Meanwhile, Vanessa's once thriving social media presence imploded the moment the truth hit the internet. Her followers turned on her overnight, and a bunch of YouTube drama channels picked up the story, complete with clips of her fake crying and courtroom meltdowns. Last I heard, she was trying to negotiate a plea deal, but the DA isn't cutting her any slack. And it turns out, there might be even more victims. We still don't know how many people she tried to scam or manipulate before this all came to light. If there's one huge takeaway from everything that happened, it's this. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. The first time, Vanessa revealed her true nature early on, with the spending, the guilt trips, the fake ambitions, but I kept convincing myself it was just a phase, or that I could help her grow. I ignored my instincts. I ignored my dad's warnings. And if I'd listened sooner, maybe I could have spared Daniel and Emily some of the pain they went through. Still, at the end of the day, justice did its thing. Karma showed up late, but when it hit like a freight train. And this time, I was smart enough to get out of the way.